3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to the No B.S. NLP Podcast. As always, my name is Nicholas Rave, and this...
Morgan Lane Bennett.
And we are here to help you get NLP out of your head and into the world. In our episode today, we're going to be talking about hypnosis. Our title is Hypnosis Isn't Real, and Everything is Hypnosis. So, in this episode, you are going to get 3 specific things and more, but the top 3 things that you're going to get from watching or listening to this episode are, number 1...
Drum roll. Number 1, sure. Number 1, you're going to learn why hypnosis is the most important key to getting results from NLP.
Ooh, yeah.
We're going to talk to you about what hypnosis is, about what hypnosis isn't. We're going to also talk to you about what hypnosis is when it isn't, and also what it isn't when it is. Have some of that. You know what? While I'm on it, we are going to also supercharge. Yes, number 2. We're going to supercharge your ability to get results with hypnosis. If you're using hypnosis at all, because if you're anything like I was, you learned about NLP and then there was hypnosis and you're like, hypnosis is weird. I'm just going to stick to the NLP. I can understand that. But we want to help you break through that so that you can get great results with yourself, with your clients, and just in your life in general.
And point number 3, we're going to teach you the ultimate backdoor secret entrance technique to get literally any result that any other person has ever got in the history of humanity.
No big deal.
Yeah, seriously. If you want to visit your past lives, this is the key. If you want to talk to God, this is the key. If you want to become a freaking superhero, this is the key to supercharging your results with NLP and in your life. You're going to get all of that and more in today's episode. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. Hi, it's me. I'm the sponsor. So, in order to fund this podcast, I've created 2 amazing new programs designed to help you take your NLP and hypnosis skills to the next level. The first is a program I actually started running at the beginning of this year called the NLP Dojo. The Dojo is a hands-on practice and skill-building program where you can get personal feedback on your process in real time from me. It's a super small group program and is exclusively for practitioners and master practitioners. And right now, I have 3 spots available. The second program is called the NLP Bootcamp, and it is a monthly full-day virtual training where we cover specific topics, all the important topics in NLP, like submodalities or the Milton model or parts. It's different every month. And I call it a boot camp because it's half content and half practice. So whether you are already a master or you're one of the many people I've talked to who feel like you took the trainings, but you didn't walk away with the confidence to really make use of your investment, I've designed these programs specifically for you. Now, this is literally the first time I'm mentioning either of these publicly. Up till this point, they've been by invitation only. So I don't even have websites up for these programs yet. But if you're interested, you can email me at nicholas@nicholasrave.com. Thanks, and now back to the show. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. We have a good story. Morgan has a great story that he wants to start things off with. So, story time with Morgan.
Story time with Morgan. Okay, so when we were coming up with this podcast, when we were writing this particular episode, I had a not uncommon experience with one of my clients. I see a lot of people on Skype, and I do a lot of my hypnosis and change work on Skype. And a lot of my hypnosis and change work is a little more conversational, almost waking hypnosis, if you will. And so we had done this thing. We were talking about this, her mind. And then all of a sudden she goes, oh, and I forgot I have this chronic pain in the middle of my back. Like someone has just like stabbed a knife. And I think it's me stabbing myself in the back. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I said to her, hey, could you reach it? And she's like, yeah. And so she reaches back and I go, can you pull it out? She goes, oink. And she's holding it. She's like, wow, that actually feels better. I go, can you hand it to me? And so she goes like this, and I take the knife.
Wait. Through Skype.
Through Skype.
She like hands it to you. Yeah.
So I'm taking the knife through Skype. And I'm like, thanks, I'm going to put this here. And then we go about the rest of our stuff. And she's like, wow, that really feels better. And I'm like, great, isn't that cool? And then at the end of the session, she's like, it's kind of strange, though. I thought that we would be doing more hypnosis. and I was like, wait, what? She goes, yeah, well, we didn't really do, like the sleeping and the thing and the stuff. And I was like, well, hang on a second. What color is the handle of this knife? And she's like, oh, it's brown. It's kind of wood. And I'm like, well, is it one blade or two? She goes, just one. And I go, oh, okay. And I just put it down and I was like, so you don't think we did any hypnosis today, do you? And what I ended up getting her to realize was that not only was that hypnosis, but the results were real.
Yeah.
And that was the most powerful thing.
So you did this metaphorical experience. Hypnosis or not, the bottom line is she felt better.
Yeah. And was it real? Like, who knows?
Right.
Were the results real?
So we're going to come right out of the gate here with what I think is a pretty inflammatory statement. There are a lot of people in the field of NLP that disagree with this point.
I love this point.
But I'm going to say that this, to me, was one of the key tweaks that I made in my understanding of NLP that has allowed me to get the results that I have with myself and with my clients. And that point is this. NLP is a subset of hypnosis, not the other way around. See, when I first learned about NLP, I still like this metaphor. To add another definition to what is NLP, I like to think of NLP sometimes as a toolbox with a whole bunch of different tools in it. But NLP is like the box, right? And there's a whole lot of tools, switch pattern, whatever, submodalities, reframing, all these are different tools in there. I used to think that hypnosis was just another tool in the toolbox of NLP. A powerful one, but it was just another tool. The more that I have learned about both NLP and hypnosis, and the more that I have dug into myself and my own unconscious mind, the more I have come to believe that it's exactly the opposite. That hypnosis is the big umbrella, and NLP is like training wheels to become a better hypnotist.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, that was such a big moment for me. And I'm grateful for you helping me to really sort of see that, because I was very disassociated from my hypnosis knowledge. I learned all about it. I was a master practitioner of hypnosis, but I wasn't actually, in my own mind, I was like, but I don't do hypnosis. I do NLP. And then when I went like this and I flipped those two around and I realized NLP is a subset of hypnosis, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Pretty much all the NLP patterns are hypnosis anyways. If I have somebody doing a switch pattern and I've got them grabbing pictures and doing this in their mind, that's hypnosis. If you're like, well, no, it's not. How is it not hypnosis?
What else the fuck could it be?
Right. A phasphobia model, right? Go back in time or in the future to a fear that you have, to a representation you have, and then go through it, change the way it is, put some clown music, make it black and white, whatever that stuff is. But I'm not a hypnotist. I'm an NLP guy, but that's not hypnosis.
Some of the NLP techniques are kind of obvious in the way that they're hypnosis. I mean, take like a 6-step reframe or like a visual squash. Sometimes people call that a parts integration. Yeah. What are you doing? You're having the person hallucinate a part of their unconscious on their hand. And like, speaking of the knife thing, like when I have somebody who it's not working very well, they're usually looking away from it. So what I'll do is I'll just go, hey, ask the part.
Right.
And they'll be like, I'll ask them a question. They'll be like, I don't know. And I'll say, well, I know you don't, but ask the guy on your hand.
What are they wearing?
And then they come down here and all of a sudden they can answer the question.
Right. But that's not hypnosis.
Yeah, exactly. These are the obvious ones, but let's take it a step further. Let's take a very basic NLP technique, reframing. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever given someone advice and had it totally not land? Like you gave them advice and it just, or they were totally resistant to it. Now, on the other hand, have you ever given someone advice or someone ever given you advice where it was like one tiny sentence that changed your life, that changed everything, that made it so that there was no way you could ever see the problem the same way again in one moment? Let me ask you this. What is the difference between those two? It's not the words.
No, it's rapport.
The difference is the state the person's in when the reframe lands. And what is that state?
That is rapport, right? Depending on how it is. And rapport itself is a form of trance, right? Whether you're just like so zoned out on somebody that you can't hear anything else in the room. I mean, that is a trance. And when they're sort of primed and ready for you to just drop that one little doink of change, they go, and it's the one thing that actually works. Because, I mean, ultimately, all NLP techniques presuppose trance.
Yes.
Right? And that was such a huge understanding for me. And, you know, part of my journey was stepping into the power of that. Because if I'm like NLP, well, no, technically I have this wrench and I do this. But for me to step into the power of being a hypnotist and controlling trance, that was something that I really needed to step into to embrace hypnosis and my own change work.
Okay, I need to dive deep on this point here because I think this is probably one of the most important things we're going to cover. It is my firmly held belief at this point, at least as firmly as I hold any belief, that many people avoid hypnosis because they know, at least unconsciously, that all change presupposes trance. It's not just all NLP presupposes trance. Mm-hmm. All change, anytime any person has ever made a change at an unconscious level, they made it using hypnosis, if you will. Before hypnosis even existed as an idea, that's how the mind actually works. And I believe that many people fail to get results. Therapists, coaches, consultants, whatever. Many people fail to get results because they are afraid of what I call the moment of truth. The moment of truth is the moment when you actually say to someone, change. And they either do it or they don't. I know so many people who, with an argument of using conversational hypnosis, will talk to people for hours and hours and hours and like skirt around the fucking
not
issue.
Pull the trigger.
But never actually rip the goddamn thing out. And I think that a lot of people, they think that's what change work is. That you're supposed to walk up to the thing and go, there's the problem. Nah, didn't I do a good job? And I swear I have spent tens of thousands of dollars with people who I think when push comes to shove don't know how to help people change. They literally lack the tools and skills to actually help people. Maybe they help people identify the problem, but they don't know how to help people actually rip the fucking thing out. And it requires you getting comfortable with power. It requires you getting comfortable with influence. And these are some of the tools and techniques or some of the concepts we're going to talk about as we discuss what the fuck is hypnosis.
Yeah, because like I said, that was a big part of my problem too. And stepping into the power of being able to responsibly help somebody is... So what the hell is hypnosis? I mean, we all know that, like, what is it? You tell me.
So what is hypnosis? Well, hypnosis, most people have heard, I'm sure you've heard, the common misconceptions. Hypnosis is not sleep. It's not brainwashing. It's not mind control. It's not being gullible or weak-willed. And yet, there are some other weird misconceptions about hypnosis that we'd like to address. For instance...
Well, I love this one. It's not real, but it's dangerous.
It's not real. How many people I can't even tell you how many people that I have heard who will say, hypnosis isn't real, I don't believe in it, but you shouldn't do it.
Right.
Like I've run into so many people that are like, don't do hypnosis because it will open you up to demonic possession. This is one I've heard from members of my family, actually, extended family.
It's not real. That's kind of how I feel about the demons, but that's a different thing.
Yeah, it's not real.
They're not real. Yeah. Don't mess with them, but they're not real. So it's not real, but it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes along the lines of the other thing. I really think it's funny that it's not real, but it can affect your ability to testify in court.
Yeah. Did you know this? That in some court cases, in some states, I think, if you have been hypnotized, which who the fuck hasn't been hypnotized? You'll understand that later. But if you've been hypnotized, you can't testify in court because your testimony is
soiled.
Yeah.
Sullied. Yeah, who knows?
Suspect is the word I was looking for.
So then if we kind of know what hypnosis isn't, then like
why is it so hard to define this thing?
Because hypnosis is not a thing. It's a process. It's a state. You know,
So one of the best metaphors that I like to use when thinking about hypnosis is if I ask you, what is music? You know what music is. A 4-year-old, probably younger, knows what music is. But if I asked you to explain exactly what music is, how good would you know that there's a skill involved, right? Like people can become musicians. There's a process of creation. You can make music happen. You can experience music. You can be the recipient of music. You understand that music is a process. It's a thing that is, but there are so many different things that count as music. And for some people, literally, one person's definition of music, another person is like, that is not music. That does not count as music. Why is it so complicated? Because music, in spite of the fact that we know what it is not a thing. There's no thing that is music. That is exactly what hypnosis is like. Hypnosis is a process that produces a predictable and useful result.
Yeah, one of our heroes, Anthony Jacquin, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right.
Shout out.
He said in something I saw recently that you don't have to believe in hypnosis for it to work. Hypnosis is just a process that I'm going to take you through.
I love that point because it really emphasizes that hypnosis is a phenomena of the mind that happens. It happens all the time. When you watch TV, you go into hypnosis. When you drive, you go into hypnosis.
Go to a movie theater, sit in a dark room, and you're like...
Yeah. If somebody tells you a really good, compelling story, you go into hypnosis.
Go to church.
This is such a base level thing to me that it's not even a human phenomena. One of my favorite examples of hypnosis, in a sense, it's almost like there's something wrong with our brain, but I think it's more of like something right with our brain. But did you know you can hypnotize chickens? Have you ever seen this before? Look this up. Just type chicken hypnosis into YouTube. You can find dozens of videos of this. And literally all you do is you take a chicken and you gently, hopefully, lay the chicken down so that its chin is on the ground. And then in the dirt in front of the chicken, you make a line like this down the chicken's beak. And then you draw a line moving out away from the chicken in a straight line out from its beak in like the dirt or whatever. I've seen it done with chalk too. And guess what? The chicken's brain fucking shuts off. The chicken just goes like, it's like here and then it sees the line and then it just sits there.
Kind of like people on their phones now.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of chicken hypnosis.
Oh, yeah, don't even, jeez. You should just make a little app that has like a line where you just like...
Nobody really knows why this happens to chickens, by the way, which I will point out is very similar to hypnosis. There's no general consensus on what hypnosis is, how it works, why it happens with some people and differently with other people. I think that there are people who understand it at a much, much different and higher level than the vast majority of people. And those people are like master musicians.
Yeah.
And they're usually people who have spent time, thousands of hours, exploring their own mind and other people's minds, which is the path that I'm on.
Right. I like to think of them as musicians.
Love it.
But that's me. Because essentially they're using imagination for a purpose.
Right? This is another good definition of hypnosis.
They're using persuasion for a purpose.
Yes.
Right? And it's always happening to you. It's either it's happening to you or you can do it to yourself. It's basically the art of influence. It is the power of suggestion. It's the most powerful thing we got. Another
definition, another way to think about it, is that when hypnosis is between two people or more people, any time that someone is leading and someone is following, effectively, that's hypnosis.
Right. If you listen to what I say, hey.
Yeah. Ultimately, the state that we think of as hypnosis or trance or whatever you want to call it is a state of mind where you relax the part of your mind that is constantly judging, criticizing, examining, and resistant to things. The part of your mind that is always on guard. You surrender that part of yourself and you just go with what's happening. This is the state of mind that musicians, by the way, get into. It's the state of mind that you have to get into in order to do improv. Right? You know the principle yes and in improv? When you're like improvising, somebody says something, you don't resist it.
No, I don't know what it is.
You don't know it?
Sorry,
Fuck you. Ultimately, I believe that state where the critical mind has relaxed is supposed to be default. I believe that's the place where we're supposed to hang out most of the time. I don't think that's the place where most people do. But I think that when you do, pretty much whenever you fuck something up, whenever you do something badly in your life, it's because you were thinking about it. You ever notice that? If you're thinking really hard about driving, how good are you at it? When are you really good at driving? Well, probably when you're not thinking about it too much. When you let your other self, if you will, do it for you.
Another really important part about this, another important point I'd like to make is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Even like when someone decides to listen to the things that I say, that's their decision. That's the most empowering part of hypnosis is when you tell someone it's not mind control.
Right.
You're choosing to do this. It's not mind control. You're choosing to have these experiences. You're the one having them. If I could do it, if I could hypnotize you, then I would, and I'd charge way more money and it would be like, boom, and I'd be doing it to all of you right now. And I would, it would be great, but that's not how things work.
You get to decide whether or not you listen.
Right. And that to me is the empowering part of it. It gives them the key and it says, here, use this, try this on. I mean, I remember when I first learned about hypnosis, very first thing, it was like, oh, there's no such thing. There's not really a thing. All those people on stage, they wanted to do that. And I remember being so like sort of disillusioned for a while. Being like, oh, really? Until I realized that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Yeah.
Even when someone's doing it to you, you're allowing it to happen.
There's a deep paradox in this whole thing. And this is one of the reasons why so many things in life that are hard for people to grasp and understand are difficult because they're paradoxical. A paradox is where you have two truths that on the surface appear to be contradictory. They seem to cancel each other out. But when you understand it from a higher level, they actually support each other. And there's something else to get here. And hypnosis is very paradoxical. We're going to hopefully address some of that paradox in this podcast. Now, the next point that I want to address here is the question, what can you do with hypnosis? Hypnosis
what can't you do with hypnosis? Really, I've never thought about that. Never asked myself that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hypnosis is such a universal tool because you're literally talking about going into the unconscious mind and making changes. That's where it starts. If you can go into the unconscious mind and make changes, I hope that by this point, if you've been following the podcast for a little while, you have gotten what that means. Because if you can go into the unconscious and make changes, you can literally change people's reality. You can change people's experience because you remember that your reality that you're experiencing right now in this moment is not actually reality. What you're experiencing is your mind doing its best job to take everything coming into your awareness and then reprocess it, distort, delete, generalize, and then represent it to you in a way that hopefully makes sense, but also fits in with your values and expectations and beliefs and all of that stuff. So you're not experiencing reality right now. You're experiencing like a movie being projected on a screen. And the interesting thing about hypnosis is that you can go in and change that movie. It's exactly like in the Matrix when Neo finally realized that he could see the code and that this was all happening in his mind and he could make those changes. Now, I am not saying, read my lips, I am not saying that you change stuff in here and all of a sudden shit starts happening out there. Actually, literally. I'm not saying that it's mind over matter and I can move things with my mind. I have never seen that proven in any way. But that does not mean that changing things inside here is not valuable. Because your experience of life is like 99% what's happening in here. So if you can change your subjective reality, you can look at what you're looking at right now, and you could imagine that you're looking at something else. You can travel in space. You can be somewhere else. Just close your eyes and imagine that you're there. You can travel in time. You can go back and visit memories in the past. You can even visit your future. Did you know, maybe you do, that your future exists already in your mind? And you can change it in your mind, in your unconscious mind, with hypnosis.
So you were talking about traveling in space and traveling in time and traveling in your imagination. And a big part of that for me in my work is helping people to change their memories, right? Not to deny that they happened and not to say we're changing the past, but to actually change the meaning of the past.
Right.
You can go back along your memory, which is completely in your unconscious mind, go all the way back there, go back, release something and come back all in your imagination. Just by changing your memories.
We should probably do a whole episode on like the fallibility of memory at some point.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
your
a
memories
43-year-old having a memory of a 12-year-old that's,
Your memories are all made up anyway, is basically what we're saying. So don't worry too much about changing them.
Right. But the fact that you can go back and sort of change the events in your life that you think made you who you are means, drum roll, you can change your fucking story.
Yes.
You can change your story, your narrative. You can change based on the way you feel about your own life. And that is the most powerful thing. I mean, I know I've probably said a lot of times, these are all the most powerful things, but they are.
Yeah.
Every one of them. Because it's so important to be able to rewrite your own narrative, to change how you see yourself in your life, and to help your clients do the same thing.
You want me to do this next one?
Sure.
So the last point that we're going to make about what you can do with this, and this is a tough one for people to wrap their head around who have never experienced it, is with hypnosis, you can produce, predictably, full-blown hallucinations. Like you can see something that's not there and absolutely experience it. You can also not see things that are there. Like, have you ever gone looking for your keys and you look where they were 7 times and then you finally come back and there they are and you swear that gremlins put them there? They didn't. They were there.
Or did they?
Yeah. They were just being deleted by your mind. You do that all the time. Think about all the things you're not seeing right now. Those things are being deleted by your mind. Well, that is a function of your mind. You can do that with hypnosis. You can do the same thing by putting positive hallucinations. Now, what I love, and I have been waiting for so long to be able to talk about this, what I love about this is that when you begin to understand how easy it is to make things happen in people's minds and to give people experiences of things that didn't really happen, when you actually go and practice hypnosis and you experience it for yourself and you're like, I really saw that. I really felt that. These are phenomena that are so subjectively real to you. Something begins to change in your view of the world. Because what happened for me is I have always been fascinated with unexplained phenomena. Things like ghosts and alien abductions and Bigfoot.
Gremlins.
Yes, exactly. And what I have come to believe at this point is that any time that I talk to someone who says, I believe in ghosts because I saw one, and I absolutely saw one. It was totally there. You know what my response is to that? I believe you. I absolutely believe you that you saw it.
Doesn't make it real.
Doesn't mean it actually happened.
Right. I mean, that's
but I absolutely believe you that you saw it.
Yeah. On some level, I want to believe them. I believe they think they did, but it reminds me of like past lives. I do not believe in past lives, although I work with them, with my clients to help people resolve them. And I've been meaning to talk about this for a while too. I might as well do it here. So as a man trying to find a date in Santa Monica, which is a very sort of yoga, evolved, whatever, spiritual, whatever. It's become sort of a running joke with, it's usually the first date, if not the second date, where all of a sudden past lives come up. They start talking about their past lives. And I've begun to use it as sort of an experiment where like, rather than go, no, that's bullshit, idiot, because I know a part of me knows that they think that that's true. But then because I want to find out how it's true for them, I've made it a point to, before I go, I'll hear it. I see it coming a mile away. I'll just go, okay, keep your face straight. Oh, really? So she says, oh, I have a past life. Great. Tell me about it. Tell me about your experience of it. I want to know your experience of waking up in Santa Monica and going, I was burned at the stake, or I was Cleopatra. Tell me about your experience of it. And they invariably say, well, I went to a psychic and they told me that I got killed in this way. And I'm like, check on the list again. It's never comes from them saying, I've had this experience. It sounds like something that was put into their mind, something that a suggestion that they accepted and became their reality. And if that's not hypnosis, I don't know what is.
Now, before all you past life fans run away, I want to clarify something that he said, which is you need to understand both of us use past lives with clients. I have a whole bunch of stories of past lives that I've experienced that I've found to be incredibly useful for myself. And I don't believe them. I don't believe they actually happened, but I do think that sometimes the unconscious mind needs a past life as a metaphor to help let go of things. Now, if you think they're actually real and that works for you, fine. Fuck it. Go for it. It really, no skin off my nose. Here's the problem, though. Many, many people take on these stories, these metaphors, these past life stories that somebody gave them, and because they cling to them as real, it is actually the clinging to it that causes it to be a problem, that causes it to become disempowering.
Feel about gurus.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, tell me, teach me, show me. It's like, well, that's any good guru will tell you that's not the point. It's like you sort it out. Here, you go do that. The same can be said for religion, which is just like one big guru, right? Tell me what to believe. Tell me what to think.
If you have a story that you're telling yourself, no matter where it came from, and it disempowers you, you're doing bad hypnosis. And frankly, there are a lot of bad hypnotists out there doing bad things to people that don't even know they're doing hypnosis.
Yeah. And speaking of not knowing you're doing hypnosis, if you talk to Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ talks back, that's hypnosis. I'm not saying it's bad or good, but that's hypnosis.
Now, you, by the way, might think that the voice that talks to you in your head is real. And that's fine if you think that. But I just want you to take a moment. If you're still listening to us, which I'd be amazed.
Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
What do you mean amazed? You're smart people, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you are a person who believes very strongly that your God is talking directly to you, are there other people on the planet who believe in a different one, a different person, a different voice, a different God? Are those people making it up? Who's doing hypnosis here? Because I'm sure that, the one that this person believes or the one that these millions of people believe is talking to them, that one's fake. But this one is definitely real, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what else is definitely real is when those preachers, I've been seeing a lot of it nowadays, sadly, in like the underdeveloped countries, but also here, of where someone is just, some preacher's like, hi-ya! With his like Mortal Kombat, like, and he like knocks down a whole like 100 people. There's like, and they're all like, oh!
Well, this I love is a great example because this is mass hypnosis. Yeah. So I've seen stories about people where they'll say it couldn't possibly be hypnosis that we saw a ghost because it was multiple people at the same time. Well, explain that. I grew up in those churches, by the way. It's called being slain in the spirit.
Yeah, it's called Kool-Aid chugging.
And I saw it. I remember standing there as a little kid and watching people get and fall. I remember people speaking in tongues. Here's a good story that I love that's a non-religious, less woo-woo story about mass hypnosis, okay? This is a story called The Toxic Woman. I'm going to tell this as a short version of the story. So there's this story about EMTs that bring this woman into the emergency room and she's dying. And they mentioned to the people in the emergency room that she smelled funny, that something was weird and she smelled really funny. Okay. So then when they go in there, they're all standing around her. This is on video, by the way. Somebody sticks a needle into her arm, puts an IV or something like this. And they all said that at that moment they smelled something come out of her body and 5 people standing around her all dropped and hit the floor. Like they all passed out unconscious from whatever toxic thing came out of her. Here's the thing. Later on, when people came in and found out what was going on, the woman died, unfortunately, but they sent her to get an autopsy. The autopsy report came back and said nothing was unusual. There was absolutely nothing going on with this woman. Now, I know that many people will go, oh, well, there was still something weird. Except this is the conclusion that they came to. The conclusion that they came to was that when the EMTs came in, and for whatever reason they said, she smells kind of funny in just the right way, that it created a suggestion, power of suggestion in the first person, who then passed it to another person, and like a contagious idea, the moment that
religion, sorry.
The moment that they stuck the needle in, they all took the suggestion. One person fell and all the rest of them saw it and went, oh, I know what to do. Boom, drop. And this is not surprising to me because I've done hypnosis stage shows where I've done exactly the same thing with more than 5 people. So the bottom line is this. For me, my belief is that all spiritual, metaphysical, supernatural experiences that anyone has ever had are real and possible for anyone to experience. Now, by the way, does that mean that there are no people out there that make shit up? Obviously not. There are lots of people that are full of crap.
But then they've convinced themselves that they've believed it, at which point it's also like there's some hypnosis for you.
Yeah,
but I've seen that before. The fact of the matter is, just because you experienced it doesn't mean that it really happened. But just because you experienced it doesn't make it real. I have an experience in my neurology of my arms passing through each other. And this was on people throw the word heroic dose around a lot. And I'd really like to just, heroic doses are for heroes. Take those, right? But I'm just saying, I was on a real heroic dose and I experienced my arms going through each other. And I was like, holy shit. I was all like Akira, the blob, and I'm a cell, I'm all these things. But I know that that's not what really happened.
This is a fabulous example because imagine that someone came to you and told you that they saw an angel or a ghost or a demon or Bigfoot. And then they told you, oh, by the way, I was tripping balls. I was on so many drugs at the time. You would immediately go, well, I'm sure you fucking saw it, but that doesn't mean it actually happened.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that those results are absolutely possible with no drugs whatsoever. Your mind can make up all the drugs necessary for you to be able to do it, and it's called fucking hypnosis.
Yeah. Again, if just because it's in your mind doesn't mean it's real. And this is my biggest reason for being secular, for saying keep it out of the government. Whatever your religion, whatever your imaginary friend, keep your imaginary friend out of the government. He's not my imaginary friend.
Right.
So keep it out of the government.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that there are people that don't agree with this. There are people in the field of NLP that will construct worlds for themselves where, Christianity or whatever religion you want makes sense in the context of NLP. For me, I have a real hard time with that. I think that when you start breaking things down and you start looking at hypnosis and the way the mind works and the way we make things up and the way words work.
And the power of ritual.
I'm not saying there isn't value in the metaphors of religion and in some of the stories. I'm saying that when you actually start thinking that there is a bearded, robed guy in the sky who cares a lot about what you do with your genitals, and then you start trying to apply that to other people in your country, we need to draw a line in the sand. For me.
Keep it out of the government. Keep your imagination out of the government.
Now, this brings us to an important question, which is, where did all this programming come from? So for me, the most obvious source is our parents. I think this one is pretty obvious. There's a lot of things like, sayings that they said, like money doesn't grow on trees. There's obvious stuff like values, like religion. Where do you pick that stuff up? Mm-hmm. Beliefs about life, beliefs about you, literally things they say about you. Oh, you're just like your aunt.
Yeah, you're going to be just like your father. You're going to have a lot of trouble in life, whatever it is.
Now, I want to add to this. How do you know which ones stick? Because are there things that your parents said to you that didn't land, that aren't like a part of who you are and your identity now? A lot of it has to do with what I like to call emotional weight. The emotional weight with which something happens, or repetition. But like, imagine that, someone, a parent gets a divorce, or loses a spouse, or loses their job. And there's a lot of emotional weight to the things that they say. And the child can feel it. They can look at the mom or dad, and as they're talking, they can feel the emotional weight in their body. Those things go deeper. By the way, that's called trauma. That's the emotional reality of the body and how this stuff works. We're going to talk about that soon. But there's also subtle parental reactions. There's little tiny things. Like, I'll give you an example. I was talking to my son recently about going back to school. And I want you to notice linguistically the difference between these two things. Guess what? You get to go back to school in 3 weeks. Versus, summer vacation is almost over. Notice what that creates. Notice the presuppositions, all the thoughts that go unspoken in those two different things. Now, I'm a big proponent of the idea that words are just words. It has far more to do with the emotional energy. Like, you can say summer vacation is almost over in a way that implies, aren't you excited to go back to school? The point is, what are you communicating? And those things, they impact children. And they've impacted you. Did you want to talk about got to, get to?
Sure, yeah. Okay. So I have a little thing that I came up with when I was like 22. And I was I got to go to work. I got to go to work. And it wasn't a job I loved, but it was like, I got to go to work. And then one day I said to myself, wait a minute. What if I thought about it as I get to go to work? And it changed everything. And then whether you can think of, I get to go sit in traffic. Well, most people throughout history had to drive 60 miles, or they couldn't. You had to take a horse or walk 60 miles. It would take you a week.
Right.
I get to sit in traffic because I'm lucky enough to have a car. I get to do my dishes because I'm lucky enough to have food.
Now, the key here, by the way, I'm going to repeat this point, is I've heard a lot of people who become these like word Nazis where they're like, don't say the word try, or I get to pay my bills, but the energy inside is still have to. So the point is the feeling, not the words, just to be clear. So the next area that I would say where a lot of this programming comes from beyond parenting is society and culture. There are a lot of beliefs that we just adopt without even thinking about it that are just, that's just the way that it is. That's just the way that people do things. And it takes a lot to deprogram that. It takes a lot to unplug or move above so that you can look down on the beliefs that are present everywhere and are invisible because people just think that's the way things are. Another area is school and education. I mean, I remember hearing a story about a guy who, when he remembered, he was doing work, I think, with Richard Bandler or something like this, and he remembered when he was about 5, 6 years old. He was struggling to read something. And a teacher looked at him struggling and said, "Oh, you're going to have trouble with reading. It looks like you're going to have trouble with reading." Fast forward to this man is an adult, a grown-ass man, and still avoids books and has all this deep shame about not being good about reading because it drops these ideas in. You've heard about the Pygmalion effect? The idea that you can take two different teachers with the same students and tell them that they're going to be difficult, and guess what? The students are difficult. You can tell the parent or the teacher that they're amazing students and they're going to have trouble keeping up with them. And guess what? The students excel.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes to sort of the learned helplessness of the news.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Right? So, I mean, what's on the news? Nothing good. Everything's bad. It's letting you know everything sucks.
Yeah.
You're powerless. And to me, that just makes people, it just brings them down to a place where they're like, yeah, I guess I am powerless. So there's really no point. And if you just program yourself with the news, I mean, I just talked to a client 2 days ago. She told me, "Oh, I'm not doing anything with my life." Okay, well, what are you doing with your life? Well, as soon as I get up, I turn on the news. Ugh. Okay. She says, I watch at least 4 hours of news a day.
Oh.
Right? So I'm like, okay, 4 hours. And I'm just going to do the quick round math on that, which I think came out to a total of 52 days a year.
Oh my God.
Right? It was basically 1 day a week that it came out to. Like, that's 52 days a year. That's 52 days of 24-hour days a year. Right? And then I said, ooh, well, hang on a second though, because it doesn't count in sleep. So then we go, okay, we'll divide those hours by 16 instead of 24. And you find out that it's 78 days in a year, in 1 year, 78 days of waking life spent watching the news, spent being told that you're no good, spent being told this is what she's programming yourself.
What are
War,
you?
famine, death, AIDS, homeless.
What are you putting in your head?
Yeah.
What are you programming
Because
yourself with?
what more programming could there be than sitting there for 4 hours in a shiny box going, tell me what to think?
Have you ever heard the expression, if it leads, it bleeds?
No.
It's a news expression that basically means that if it bleeds, it leads. I might have said that backwards.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea
That
is,
makes sense.
yeah, if it bleeds, it's on the front page. Like blood, explosions,
Yeah.
war, famine, these are the things that cause people
I wonder
to
why
look.
I'm so upset and depressed all the time and feel so
Right?
powerless. Which to me goes to whole like cultures of people.
Yes.
Whether it's black people, Latinos, whatever, where if you grow up with a image in your mind of the culture that you're screwed, you don't have a choice, you don't have a chance.
Women,
sure, that you don't have a chance. You're screwed. The system's set up against you. Then why try? If you can make somebody think that they don't have any chance before they even try, then you've already won.
And by the way, we're not saying there's no such thing as actual
God, no.
oppression.
No.
What we're saying is, even if you are being oppressed, if you come at like your oppressors or the situation, the context, going, "Why fucking bother?"
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like
you're never going to get out. You're never going to get out of it.
Yes, and that's how they, that's all of us need to take back that power.
It reminds me of a story that I've heard many times told about an elephant. That if you take a baby elephant and you put a chain around its leg and you pound a stake into the ground, the baby elephant doesn't have the strength to pull the stake out of the ground. But then as the elephant gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, at some point this elephant is so big that if you had it chained to a fucking building, the elephant could rip it down. But the elephant has learned that when the chain is there, it doesn't bother pulling on it. And so all they have to do is take that chain, put it around the elephant's leg, pound it into the ground, and the elephant just won't even try.
Yeah, it's like, reminds me of like throw the metaphor of a broken horse. Not like when a horse's spirit has been broken, where you got to break them from being wild to being broken.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit there with like a little bit of a leather loop around the thing and just be like, whatever, even though they're like this powerful creature.
Yeah.
But they're broken.
Yeah. Learned helplessness is like breaking your own spirit.
Yeah.
So how does this relate to you personally in your life? Well, your beliefs, everything you believe, is a post-hypnotic suggestion. It is the programming that has been put in there from all of these places in your life. The way you think of yourself, the way you think of the world, all of that stuff may or may not be in alignment with reality.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of programming and hearing that voice in your head, like your self-talk is hypnotic suggestions to yourself. I mean, talk about the voice that's always going on. I mean, that lady was watching 4 hours of TV a day.
Yeah, but
the voice in her head was going all day long.
Never stops.
You know, I'm not saying what her voice was, but people say, "Oh, you suck. You're not good enough.
Right.
You know, you're lame. Nobody likes you. Whatever that is." I mean, talk about if someone just sat there and went, "You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck" all day.
Right.
I have a great self-confidence, but I think after a while, if somebody telling me I sucked every day, I might listen to them.
Like putting headphones on and just listening to somebody.
We should make demotivational speeches.
I love it.
You suck.
I love it.
You suck.
Values. All of the things that you value and that are important to you were put there somehow. You picked them up somehow. By the way, some of them are probably working just fine, but there's a bunch of other ones that aren't. Hypnosis is the path to go inside and change those things.
Yeah, because your identity is a hallucination.
I don't think you can get much bigger than that.
That's it. You are, that's it.
Who you think you are, what you think you are. And there's a great quote by one of the earliest authors, thinkers in the field of NLP I was ever exposed to, a guy named Tad James. One of his famous quotes is, "No matter what you think you are, you're always more than that."
Say it again.
Ooh, I love it. No matter what you think you are, you're always more than that. That is a great quote. So the question that I'm sure is on your mind right now after all of this is, how do you get rid of it? How do you...
The same way you got it, through hypnosis.
Now, when a lot of people start getting this idea that it's like, all of this is hypnosis, everything that I'm making all this stuff up myself, I've heard people use the word unhypnotize. Like, how do I unhypnotize myself? Well, here's the good news and the bad news. You can't. You can't unhypnotize yourself. You are always in some sort of trance. That's the reality that you're projecting out.
And the thing is, hypnosis might not be real, but it's real enough. You know what I mean? How real was the knife that lady was looking at? How real is that? But the results were real, and that's what matters.
You can't get yourself out of hypnosis, but you can trade trances. You can switch the hypnosis to one that's empowering from one that isn't working to get you what you want. Okay, now, we said we were going to teach you the number one ultimate backdoor secret to get hypnosis to work for you and your clients better than you ever possibly imagined. And I'm going to share that with you right now. Are you ready? The secret is the paradox of pretend. See, when most people hear the word pretend, they think that it means you're just pretending. But there is something magical that happens when you realize you're always pretending. Everyone is pretending. See, if you're a true believer in whatever it is that you believe, then it's probably working for you. Good for you. Go for it. But if you are at all like me, and there was always a voice in the back of your head when you were being hypnotized that was like, I don't think this is real, quote unquote, then it never works. But when I finally realized that all I have to do is pretend that it's real, it works. It opens the door to be able to get anything anyone else can do. I can pretend that I can do what other people can do, and then I can do it to a large extent.
I like to think of it more as make-believe. Same difference, I suppose, but I like to make believe. Help people make believe. Make their beliefs by making believe. And then you can also make believe that you're not pretending to be making believe that you're pretending.
So I have a question for you. Would you like right now to be hypnotized in under 1 minute? I'd like to show you one of my all-time favorite trance inductions and my very favorite, personal favorite self-hypnosis induction. Now, I should warn you, if you're driving or you're in any situation where this is not safe, please do not follow my instructions.
Step on the gas.
come back to this part or just listen to it for now and do not follow my instructions. If, however, you're in a situation where you can take a few moments to go deeply inside and close your eyes, that's all you have to do to start. What I'd like you to do right now is just close your eyes and pretend that you can't open them, even though you know you can. Pretend you can't open them and try really hard to open them only when you're absolutely sure that you can't. You are now in a trance. That's it. There's nowhere else to go or be than where you are right now. Now, what are you going to do here? You can open your eyes. Go ahead and open your eyes. Give yourself permission to open your eyes. Open your eyes now and realize that that's all there is.
Right. And was that real? I don't know. I mean, here, is this knife real?
What is hypnosis? Is hypnosis real? It's real enough, just like the knife. Real enough to get results. Now, the last question I want to ask you is, now that you have access to that door inside your mind where you can make any change you want, are you going to use it? What change do you want to make? What do you want to let go of? Who are you going to be now? The choice is yours.
Peace, love, and NLP, dog.
Hey there, Nicholas here. Thank you so much for watching this episode. NLP geeks like you are exactly the reason we decided to make this podcast. Please feel free to leave a comment or question below and click the like button if you did. You can also click the logo to the left to subscribe and the box to the right to watch another episode if you want more No B.S. NLP. Lastly, please share this video if you know any other NLP geeks who you think might dig it. Thanks again.
Project.